Hello, and welcome to Willow Waves, a student-produced podcast that brings together young minds to explore and discuss current events and topics that connect all of us.
Hi, I'm Adriana. Welcome back to Willow Waves, the podcast where curiosity meets creativity.
And I'm Oyut-Od. We're your hosts. Today, we're serving up something sweet and smart.
Joining us is the amazing scientist baker behind Sugarologie, Dr. Adriana Patterson, who blends biochemistry with baking brilliance.
Get ready to find out what happens when science hits the kitchen. This episode is baked to perfection.
What specifically is your job and what you do?
I am what's called a digital content creator, and I make videos for the internet. And specifically, those videos are to help people understand baking and how to become a better baker and how to make recipes and things like that. And so I do a lot of writing. I make videos, I set up, a tripod and a camera. And I do a lot of editing. So that entails being on the computer and moving video segments around and things like that.
Cool. Okay, our next question is,
if you were to quit one of your jobs, which job would it be?
Oh goodness. So a current job? Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's a lot of jobs. I always tell people I think I probably do the jobs of 8 or 10 people. My favorite has to be the research part of it because I am a trained scientist. That is what I love doing. I love getting into the numbers and the data and figuring out problems. My least favorite part of the job is all the admin work that I have to do, which is accounting and all the stuff that you need to do to run a business, all that background stuff. It's really important to do, but it's not what I specialize in, accounting and payroll and paying bills and all that stuff. I would gladly give that job to somebody else.
what convinced you to make your own products?
Make my own videos and things like that?
Yeah, or if you were selling something.
Oh, if I wanted to sell something. So if I were to sell anything, which I don't currently sell anything, it would be what's called an information-based product. It wouldn't be a tangible, I guess something that would be related to what I do would be a cake pan or a muffin pan. It wouldn't be anything tangible that I would sell to somebody. It would actually be something information-based, like a course or maybe a set of ebooks online or something like that. A lot of the things that I create are based on knowledge. And so I like packaging that up really nice and handing it off to you so that it's just easy for you to follow and to understand.
Did you ever think you were going to be an influencer or entrepreneur?
No, neither of those things. I was always a really independent worker. I work really well by myself, and that kind of allowed me to segue into being an entrepreneur. But I do run this business by myself primarily, and so that's kind of how I ended up here. But when I was your age and even high school and college, that was never anything I ever considered. It was because I built something that was very unique and I knew I had to do on my own. And that's how I became an entrepreneur. I would gladly give that job to somebody else.
So what was your childhood dream job?
When I was your age, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I loved animals. And I was always good at, science and math and all those things and animals. So I thought that would be the best fit for me. And as I got older, I realized that I didn't want to work with animals in that capacity. And so I kind of scrapped that idea. But I still went with the trajectory of math and science.
When I was 4, I've always wanted to be a veterinarian. And I
Do you
feel
still want to be a
hopefully
vet? Is that something that you're interested in?
maybe hopefully. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it'd be such a sweet job, but like with all jobs, there's going to be some downsides. And so you have to look at the whole picture when thinking about something like that.
Where or who did you learn cooking from?
From my mom. She wasn't so much a baker. My grandmother was the baker, but they taught me the basics, pies and cupcakes from a box and things like that. It wasn't until I got married that I actually taught myself how to do more complex things. And that's when I started asking questions and wondering why things worked a certain way. And I found a lot of gaps in the knowledge online and in books in terms of like why things worked the way that they did. Like, why do cakes rise a certain way and things like that. And that kind of sparked my interest into the science of baking. But very fundamental stuff I learned from my mom.
Did you think that you were going to become like a scientist?
So when did I knew I was going to be a scientist when I was in college. When I was in high school, I was still kind of hanging on to that idea that I would maybe do veterinary science. But when I was in college, I think I took a biology class, and that class, a light bulb appeared, kind of hypothetically, I guess. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this is only the beginning. And that's when I knew that I had something in me that I needed, like an itch to scratch kind of thing, where I needed to really look into this. And that's when I was like, okay. And then I looked into careers and things like that. And I was like, this is a thing. I can do this. I can learn and study for the rest of my life and get paid for it. And that's when I knew I wanted to be a scientist.
What do you have a PhD in?
My PhD is in biochemistry and molecular biology. And that's the study of really tiny things that are in cells, like we call them macromolecules, so proteins, DNA, and how they interact with each other. And so I was always interested in, like I said, biology. And then I happened upon biochemistry, which is much later. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I learned microbiology. So I combined everything and studied bacteria and DNA and how you can detect diseases and all those things. And that's what I did my PhD in.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
Sounds kind of hard too.
It sounds hard, but once you get into it, it's so fascinating, and then you just can't get enough of it. You just keep learning and learning and learning, and you figure out that you don't know anything at all. You just keep going and going until, I don't know, until you figure something out, and that's what I love about this.
So what motivated you to start Sugarologie, and what was your mission to accomplish when you started?
So Sugarologie is essentially a notebook that I kept in my kitchen. This is way before I started Sugarologie, and I would write down things that I would figure out in baking. It's pretty straightforward for me to look into research. I have access to it, and I would just read it in my free time, and I was figuring things out little by little. And I realized that maybe I should put this on the internet for whatever reason. I think initially it was just for my record keeping, so that I could keep a log of things that I was, figuring out. And then I realized that this actually might be helpful to a few people. I don't know, friends and family. And then the website kind of grew from there, and I kept getting questions about this, about cakes, about frostings, about why my cookies spread out too much when I, and I had answers for all of them. And so I started, answering them on social media and on the internet. And I realized that a lot of baking websites just, for whatever reason, didn't go deep into the why of baking, why things happened a certain way. And more importantly, when I mess up, how do I fix it? Or how do I prevent problems from happening? There would be answers, but they would be kind of not as thorough as I would like them to be for you to, prevent mistakes in the future. And so that's when I started really launching that idea that, hey, we might not know the answer right now, but let me try and figure it out. And it keeps going. There's never ending questions. Just like yesterday, I had a problem with my cakes being overly dry, and I couldn't figure out why they were so dry and why everybody was suggesting this certain way to bake cakes. Yet it felt incomplete to me. So what did I do? I baked, what do I have? I have 12 cakes behind me right now. And I baked them all yesterday. And so we're doing a running experiment to see why the cakes are so dry. And I think I figured it out. And so I'm writing the script right now, and the video will probably be released in a couple of weeks. But I can tell you guys the answer because you guys have the inside scoop. But it has to do with the type of flour, and it has to do with a special sugar syrup that you have to add to your cake batter. So that'll get released in a couple of weeks.
Wow, that's really cool.
We got to listen to it first.
Yeah, you guys get the inside scoop before anybody else. I don't think I've even told my kids or my husband yet. So you guys are the first to know.
What is your career path, and what led you to do what you do right now?
So my career path kind of bounced all over the place. I didn't have a straight shot. I can't imagine that a lot of people do unless you really know what you want to do at a young age. And I think that's what I tell a lot of young people whenever they ask me this question, is to try a lot of things. Don't limit yourself to one trajectory or one path. If something interests you, don't be afraid to try it. And if you don't like it, or if you fail or whatever, okay, just fine. Just, redirect, right? And that's what happened to me. So I started off, I guess, as most people do in your area, doing government contracting, which seems so out of left field, right? So we did government contracting, and I learned accounting and all that stuff. And I thought maybe I could go that path. I ended up getting my PhD because I became so interested in science. And that was undergrad. And then I got my master's and then my PhD. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to be a scientist. And I still do that in some capacity. I do some consulting on the side, and I help build diagnostics. But then I had this, hobby of baking and science and everything like that. And since I have the background in biochemistry and molecular biology, it seemed pretty straightforward to me. And so then I started publishing a little bit. And now the majority of my time is on that. And I'm kind of leaning towards being the digital content creator, still working in science, but as it relates to baking. So it's kind of bouncing all over the place.
What was cooking? Oh, so you kind of already answered this question, but was cooking at the beginning just a hobby for you?
It was a hobby / cooking was a necessity for me, right? We have to eat. It's expensive to eat out all the time. So I taught myself how to cook. And baking was the hobby, which is, all the sweets and things like that, which aren't a necessity, but it's nice to know how to bake and things like that. You guys cook and bake a lot, or have you guys let mom and dad take care of that for now?
I do it sometimes.
I do it
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah.
That's good. It's a good life skill. Everybody has to know how to feed themselves, right? It's expensive to go out and always, although it's nice, it's expensive to go out and always buy your food. So necessity first, and then baking was just a love of mine that I developed probably in high school.